get him on the pod.
All right, you guys want to talk about George? Now, look, George walking off the podcast when he. Well, I feel like most of the internet will probably know already, but George, I forgot his last name, the one from Impaulsive, walks off the set when they're sitting down with Bobby Lee. Bobby Lee hurt his feelings. He walked off, and then now he's apologized to him. Saqib and I have had some good debates off camera about this. Saqib, I need you to bring your argument hat, because I know we've had a good one, and I feel like that's why the pod's been good, you know? Where there has to be some good argument. When we're just sucking each other off and agreeing, that shit's whack. Like, I just seen the one with Babalam and Flacco. You know what a lot of podcasters get into when it's bad podcasting is instead of arguing, they just put their perspective in. Even if my perspective isn't the same as yours, you give yours, I then just wait and then give my perspective. And then Tori waits, then he gives his perspective. And then we all just have each other's and our own nuts in our hands.
Yeah, no, it's got to be a different dynamic.
And that was the problem, with like, because Flacco just did his first podcast with Babalam, who he just got out there, split up the show, did all that drama. And then that was what I was noticing, because they all in the cast were kind of shitting on that episode. Like, yeah, it wasn't that good.
Yeah.
And Flacco just fucked it all up because he switched pods, gets this new guy here that's not even a new guy because he's not really permanent. So either way, point is,
George,
you better be ready to argue about
George. Let's go.
But I mean, honestly, I don't even feel like there's too much to argue with though. George walked off the podcast, walked away from Bobby Lee. My perspective on what I saw on the pod, they were talking and stuff. George has the odd man out seat. Say like George is over there and then Saqib's the guest, and he's just Bobby was completely turning his back on him, which kind of did seem intentional, and he's kind of getting at him with jokes and stuff. They're going back and forth, and then at one point George, who's been out of the conversation a while, they throw him a lob. They say, yo, George, why don't you speak on this? You've had a lot of different stuff with mental health and different thoughts. And then he goes on and he's talking about different battles and how the last 2 years he was really unhappy when it's the most success he's had. And I'll be honest, he was very long-winded. He did go on a little too long, and Bobby,
bro, so funny.
Bobby was trying to like chime in and stuff. Then he'd be like this. He'd start talking and he looks at them and he goes, then looks back at him. He's like, "Are you done?" And then he just starts kind of clowning him for like it being long-winded. And, you know, Bobby's a dick. Like that's kind of his humor. He's a dick to people. And then you could tell he got a little butthurt, but then he started giving it back to Bobby, talking about how Bobby don't write his jokes. So they start going back and forth at each other, and you could tell it's getting a little tense, but they're still going with it. And then he's like not talking to Bobby, looking away. And then Bobby's like, "You're not actually mad, right?" And he's like, "No, I'm doing a bit. No, it's cool. I'm just doing a bit." So they're cool. But I feel like as someone who's watched it and knows George, you could tell George did get a little butthurt. Like we know Saqib gets butthurt. We know of each other.
On my face, like
and so basically, imagine we have a guest. We can tell Saqib's a little triggered. But Saqib's like not saying as much, but also at the same time, Bobby's turning his back to him, so it wasn't like there was really anything. Dude, literally the back straight to him at certain points. So you could just see like, George just sitting there like, just kind of looking around, and then the thing is, Logan and them, or mainly Logan, starts kind of calling him out. He's like, Bobby, George, there was a time when Logan was telling a story that involved George, and George was clocked out and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know what y'all were saying," and so that was on George. But then later on, Bobby's talking, I think, and then Logan's like,
he's clocked out.
Well, actually, first him and Mike look at each other, and then they're looking at him, and he's like, he is completely clocked out right now. He is completely and then, you know, what's his name looks at him. George is like, fuck it, and just gets up and walks out. Dips, right? Yeah.
He's out. And now the podcast is just between Bobby Lee.
It was near over though. But it was Bobby's like, that's so unprofessional. And he was just like, dang, is he really mad at me? What happened? And then they were saying, I think he's more mad at Logan or whatever. And then that's where it starts. Then Jamari goes and makes a video talking about wannabe comedian, walks off the set.
Well, because George is aspiring to be a comedian.
Yeah.
And right. What's it called? One thing that my perspective did change. I did watch his apology, George's apology on Impaulsive. He did take full accountability for everything. Dude. That was great. I loved that. The part where he's just talking about the fans, and he's like, you know, I saw all these comments around me, and he's like, I'm in your head.
Oh, I love
bro, that was so cringe.
Really?
Bro.
I loved it.
Bro, that was so weird. It's like, that's not the type of shit that you want to be in the fans' heads about. That's not a W. That's more like an L to me.
Oh, totally disagree. As a content creator, totally disagree. If I do something and then I feel bad about it, because he was saying, I felt really bad about it afterward. I felt like I really blew it. And he said, I always thought, you know, when I make a bunch of people angry, I'm going to feel so bad about it. I don't want to have all this people upset. But then he sees thousands of comments talking about you should kill yourself. Fuck you. You're a piece of shit. All that stuff. All this wild stuff. He's saying like, bro, for those people, and I feel the same way. I have people blowing up my BNC page. I have like over 400 comments of just people mad about a Model S Plaid.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, I'm in your foot. And that's what he was saying. Like, I see all this and I'm just like, I'm in your heads. Like, now y'all care what I have to say. Y'all care about my actions. And these are people that have nothing going on for them when you're sitting there trying to just tear a dude down because he got in his feelings and left. I liked him saying that.
But the thing that you're in their heads about is you being a pussy and walking off and you not having thick skin and wanting to be a comedian.
I don't even think that means you have don't have thick skin, because for me it's like, if you on bullshit, if we had a guest here and that's why for me personally, I don't actually have the angle of like, how could you do that to Bobby? He's so unprofessional. If someone was pissing off you or Tori and like they were getting at you and you didn't like it and you left, I honestly wouldn't be that mad, because it's good content. That's the thing. It is good content when someone walks off. That's why I tapped in with the episode, and it's created weeks more of content. It created content for this pod, and we could have talked about it 2 weeks ago. So for me, I'm like, if you want to leave, and it'll be good content, unless it was just us two when you leave, then it's like, all right, you're a dickhead. But if you just leave, and it's near the end of the shit, bro, I'm like, this viral. This did way more for us than whatever 15 minutes we're about to have. We're at the close. Yo ass walking off. So I still feel like it's good content.
Okay. So look, George wants to become a comedian, right? I believe that, okay, if you're going to be a comedian, if you're going to dish it out to other people, you should be able to take some yourself. And I understand. The one comment that I truly believe that probably could have hurt George is the one about his girlfriend. He's like, that's your girlfriend right there? And he's showing a picture. And then he's like, you wouldn't get her without the fame. You know, that's something.
I think that one was funny. I think that's funny. That was a good one.
It was funny, but at the same time, that's the only one that I would think that's a little harsh, because it could hit an insecurity. Maybe it's something you thought about. Okay, maybe
for months.
Or
maybe it made you think about it.
I think he's been with her for a long time though. You watched the full episode now, right?
Yes. So I've seen it. The only reason that like I don't give George like. What's the word? Is it remorse
or leeway?
Or yeah, I don't give him leeway.
Bobby leeway.
Leeway.
I like that.
The only reason I don't give him leeway is because I don't think the jokes were that bad. I honestly don't think so. Okay, you're saying a heartfelt story, and it's Bobby Lee. He kind of just cuts you off and be like, "Are you done?" You know, like I see where you're how you could get into your feelings, but bro, you are trying to be a comedian, you being around a comedian, this is a place to test yourself on your ball busting, on your banter, on your riffing. So you getting into your feelings, it just kind of showed like maybe you might be too sensitive to make jokes around. I hope it's a learning lesson, because don't get me wrong, I like George. Maybe I didn't like him when he first started on the podcast. It's just that
no one did.
It's cool. It's nice to watch people grow. This is one of those moments that's like, okay, you're learning, but I still think that was some lame shit that you did. Walk off. It was like 15 minutes left.
But I don't think it was necessarily the joke that got to him. I think honestly it was kind of the disrespect. But like, I think had he not been turning his back to him the whole interview though, I think it's different, because he was going back and forth. I think he said jokes to Bobby that were actually way worse than what Bobby said to him about Bobby not writing jokes and whatnot.
It felt like his jokes were a little bit more personal.
For sure. Because he got bothered.
You could tell, he's in his feelings.
Because also Bobby kept cutting him off, and then when he like tapped Bobby's leg, like he'd be like, don't touch me.
Okay, don't touch me. That's the clip I saw. I saw him tapping legs and they got mad.
Yeah, and he'd say, don't touch me. He's like, your touches are really, and I could getting annoyed. I mean, and that's the thing, like, you doing stand up on stage is different from you having this fat Asian motherfucker just talking shit, like just being rude. Like,
but Bobby Lee's so much of an easier target. Like, Bobby Lee is fat and he got a tiny penis, whatever the fuck, and he's doing a podcast with his ex. But that shits on him.
But that's why. That's true.
That's
but
crazy.
that's why, like. But the thing is, if he's not talking to you, he's just showing you his back the whole time. It really is like, bro, it's not even a riff we can come up with. And then even a time where he laughed at Bobby's joke, and then Bobby turns like, imagine we're all in flow of conversation. I've already been picking on this guy and not paying attention to him at all, and like just really kind of shitting on him. And then I make a joke, he laughs, and I'm just like, you good? You got a problem? It's like, bro, like, you're fucking me up. Like let me just flow, bro.
It's messing up the flow.
Well, yeah, and just like, dog, like, leave me a fuck alone eventually.
Because at that point, it's like, where are the lines at, right? Because it's like, now you're disrespecting me. Like, not even the fact that we're comedians, we're in the same space, we're just laughing, but like, nah, you haven't looked at me one time in this podcast. It's like, I don't know what's going on.
And then George did. So then the next pod,
he went on,
and he apologized and just said like, and so his perspective was like, I feel, I get butthurt, and I really did just get butthurt. I got bothered, and it was silly of me, and I know it's something I need to work on, but also, like, you guys know it's something I'm trying to work on. So, like, for me, when I'm trying to, like, kind of gather myself and keep myself in, it kind of bothered me that then you guys are, like, saying, like, oh, this guy's totally checked out, or he's clocked out. Yeah. And so his perspective totally made sense, and that's why he's just such a likable guy when you see it, and that's why it bothered me, like, seeing Jamari then he posts another video, wannabe comedian forced to apologize. And really all it was is, bro, he already apologizes. Then Logan is on Bobby's show, and then they're talking about it, and then Logan's like, he never reached out to you, bro. And then basically he's like, I'm gonna call him, gets him on the phone, Bobby gets him on. Bobby starts to apologize. He's like, Bobby, shut your mouth. I will not let you apologize. I want to apologize. I was so wrong. And he really just nothing but apologizing and just said how bad he felt about it. And that's why it's all good. So like when Jamari playing the angle of like he's a wannabe ass comedian, he ain't done shit, and
Jamari's
like he's
the asshole at
it's
that
just
point,
like, bro, I feel like you're not tapped in, because like if you've seen the guy's content, you would feel kind of probably in bad taste. Like, why am I questioning this guy's career because he got bothered on a podcast? Like it's just totally different from, because he's already working hard in stand-up. And I forgot who it was. A couple people have taken him on tour with them, and he opened up like big ass venues and did really well. He's also had some that weren't that good and stuff he needs to work on. So like he's someone that's actively pursuing it. It just doesn't really correlate.
The grind is great. I believe that the grind, he should keep pursuing the grind. It's just that now that you've showed like the way that you reacted to this situation, it's like when you're gonna be in like comedic circles, like how often can you be sensitive? If you're sensitive in a comedic circle,
they're disrespecting
they're gonna
each other?
Huh?
I don't think they're disrespecting each other. It's one thing to crack jokes.
Did you really feel like that was disrespect? I felt like that was like a bit the whole entire time, because comedians
for 2 hours, bro. A 2 hour bit is wild. You shitting on him.
It's not the entire 2 hours. I see he definitely
what, 1 hour 58 minutes or what?
It was a while. It was a while that he did it. If you watch other comedians on podcasts, they will have the butt of the joke for the day. Like they'll do that constantly, whether it's like
Brian
turning their back.
Brian Callen.
Brian Callen gets trash,
bro. But see, they talking shit to each other, and it's funny going back and forth. But it's different when it, like, say Brian Callen is there with Brandon Schaub, and they're both comedians. Brandon Schaub, comedian, right? And you have someone on the couch, and then like it's different from me like cracking at Callen and then cracking at Brandon Schaub, going back and forth, versus like I'm gonna talk to Brandon Schaub's 2 other co-hosts, turn my back on him, then every time he talks, I'm gonna try to like make him the butt of the joke.
They've done that. Brian Callen,
which is fine, but I'm saying it doesn't make Brian Callen not a good comedian if he gets like, all right, fuck this guy. Like, you're on my platform, you're disrespecting me. Like, it doesn't make him a wannabe comedian because like he's not taking the disrespect that day. It doesn't mean that then if he's around Chappelle and Chappelle's like, look at this white motherfucker. Like, even then, I don't think the comedians are shitting on. Like, you could be clowning. Yeah, that's what friends do. Everyone cracks jokes. They crack jokes on the pod. It just doesn't mean that someone can't get bothered by something or feel disrespected or offended. Like, you know, I'm just saying it's a different thing.
The only thing that I say that if this does happen in comedic circles, it's like you will probably have to leave the room if you're really bothered, or if you stay there, they're gonna demolish you until the point that it's like, okay, maybe now I could laugh about it. I do feel like shit, but
if he's in a comedian circle and it's him and guys he looks up to, and one of them is being a dick to him, just like kind of shunning him out the conversation,
he's probably just gonna eat it.
No, he's probably gonna leave. Like, I mean, it's not like if you're like backstage somewhere, you don't. All right, I'm probably not gonna stay in this group. They're not really.
I feel like
if they're not fuck. If you have the vibe of like, okay, they're not fucking, or you're just gonna be like, I don't fuck with this dude. He was a dick, and then just talk to everyone else.
A good comedian will make him laugh. Like, you're gonna have to respect me. Oh, you got your back turned to me the whole time? Exactly. Okay, yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we should have pointed that out. You have to say some shit.
You should have said, hey, Bobby, you look like you need a massage, but you got your fucking back to me.
Yeah. I was gonna say something with backstraps. I was like, that's
a good point.
That's got to be one of the jokes, like, because if he's doing a bit that's kind of bothering you, you got to talk about the bit.
Yeah. That's a good point.
You got to make the joke about it.
You know what he did? Yeah, that's actually a good point, because he did the opposite. He kind of scooted his chair back and leaned back, so it was even more obvious. So we're like, they literally couldn't see him. And then a couple times Logan be like, George, come on, move your chair up, bro, because Bobby had made it so blocking him where it's like no chance of seeing him. Like, so
like, I can't see Tori.
Yeah, it's like there's 2 people there, and I'm just talking like this. Fuck Tori. Like,
see, I wouldn't be mad though. I'd just be like, okay, so I'm like, you don't want to look at me today.
But every time you laugh, you know, it's someone trying to shoot. Eventually, it's like, instead of you leaning forward, you just sit back like, all right, fuck it then. Like, all right,
you gave up. You showed physically that you gave up, and kind of sunk into that little.
And it's okay. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not trying to completely shit on George at all. It's just certain things. Like, you did it in front of the public, so we're gonna talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's fair. It's like, I'm glad. I do like George sometimes. Like, I feel like I've been in George's shoes. Like, sometimes going for the joke.
Dude, you always remind me of George. Bro, you are George for sure. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. Dude, but George, no, I love George, and you're the one that be hating on George. I love George. No, because George, he's the comedian, and so he's always trying to make like jokes. But you know, obviously when you're a comedian, you're always thinking. Timing is everything. You're always thinking of the joke to make, and all the time, bro, they'll get like annoyed with him. They get at George like. And then I've seen him get better and better, and just like he gets right on his bag, and like he makes a joke. I'm like, dog, George killed it. I'm really that guy. Where comments or podcasts I care about, especially with No Jumper, I'm in the comments like, yo, this was a great episode. George killed it, bro. Great timing. I love it. I do that way more with No Jumper. I also be hating like, yo, love Duno, but he really pissed me off this clip. And like, you know, I'll be in them motherfucking comments. Like, I'm gonna give him feedback. especially when stuff is good though. I'll write a whole paragraph about the dynamic was so great. So glad you had house phone here on this interview you did. Yeah. It would have been like, I've never even seen this Aki guy, the New York guy that be doing this shit. Yeah. I never even seen him, bro. I watched the whole thing, man. This was amazing. This was great. I'm so glad you had house phone here. He killed it, and it was phenomenal. So I'm that guy. So I'm kind of the same way with podcasting. I really try to study the game and give props.
That's one of the things. Like, I feel like I've been in George's shoes trying to make the joke, and then it comes out cringe because it's like, it sounded so much better in my head. Fuck you. But
I'm agreeing with you, dog.
He was like, oh yeah, I remember. Hey, bitch, we try to grow, all right?
Hey, this pod was flowing, dog. I don't know about y'all. This motherfucker was flowing. Oh shit.
Yeah. But yeah, I hope George makes a recovery. I know, like, it's pretty easy.
He's good, bro. And he's getting mad clout right now.
No, I hope that when he does sit down with another comedian, he got hella jokes ready for them.
And he just doesn't.
Or because it's like, being live and trying to be in the moment and trying to improv a joke right then and there. It's like it's not an easy task. Like, somebody just dissed you on your appearance. You could diss him back on the appearance, but if it's not coming to you right away, you might say some lame shit.
But his jokes were his. I think it's also a power thing of like kind of the power play of, like you guys said, address the elephant. He keeps turning your back. Don't just go quiet and then like have the viewers be looking like, yeah, he did. That was messed up. How
like,
I
don't want to see your plumber crack.
I can see your. Like,
and then the fact, I think maybe Bobby walked in already knowing I'm a shit on George today.
Well, that's just how that's his vibe though. Because no, he didn't know any of them. He only knew Logan. He didn't know either of them. He didn't even know like. Bro was a comedian, like he didn't know. He just met Mike and he's like, yeah, you guys are good, yeah, whatever. But
because I'm thinking maybe it's like an initiation into the comedy world. Like I'm
a
fuck with him, bro. Yeah, okay,
that's just his shtick. He just be a dick. He's gonna be a dick to someone and keep poking at him.
One thing you didn't say about when he had to apologize on Bobby Lee's podcast. He
didn't have to stop Jamari him, bro.
No.
Forced to apologize.
Logan wanted to fucking apologize, so he gets on the call and Bobby's like, yo, I'm so sorry, blah blah blah. George is like, Bobby, you didn't have to apologize for anything, blah, blah, blah. He says his apology. And he's like, all right, George, now I'm going to rescind my apology.
Now I don't feel sorry at all, now that you said that.
Bobby Lee is just so funny.
But that's why, bro. George
and one thing Bobby Lee did say, he's like, next time if I am on the podcast, like, if I'm making jokes, I hope I hope you're able to make some jokes back to me.
Yeah,
because it's just camaraderie.
But
see
that,
right?
camaraderie. Yeah, you had a little bit, but you had some sauce to it. Camaraderie. You know what I'm saying? That's how it's spelled. But but that's my only thing why I didn't even watch Jamari's videos, just because like the whole perspective just isn't really fair. Like even hearing George when he talks to bro, like, dude, he's a nice guy. If Sakib was like, he just put all these shows, he's doing all this stuff of like comedy, but then he gets butthurt on the pod, even if it was with one of us, and then you got Jamari, like, sensitive ass comedian, can't take, like, bro, it's just different. You can feel a way about stuff. It doesn't take away from your craft. Like, it's like a basketball player getting ticked off in an interview and he walks out and they're like, how are you gonna make free throws? You can't take a little sauce. You can't take trash talk. Like, bro, come on. Like, he's really doing it. Like, Jamari ain't doing no comedy. What are you talking? Like, it was just, I feel like it was the easiest thing to pick a hole at if you don't know the guy. You're just like, comedian got upset by jokes.
Yeah, walks off. Let's make a clip.
Yeah. And they made great content. You have a picture of him.
The title of comedian, it's like you are trying to be a comedian. So when you do get sensitive about a topic, like, don't get me wrong, comedians are very insecure about a lot of things about themselves.
Like everybody is.
But it's like if you are trying to be the comedian, it's you getting into your feelings in front of the public is probably not the best look. I know it makes you seem more genuine for YouTube and certain types of content. For comedy, I think it's just like, now you're gonna get shit up. I
don't think he was like, for the YouTube comments.
Yeah, because like, now he got jokes to make too. Yeah, you might hear about this in a stand-up set.
Yeah,
but yeah, if you know the guy, it's just like he's one of those types. So even on the pod, like they have that relationship where you can tell like when they get him butthurt or like when they piss him out, he gets bothered by them. And it's just like when you see the content itself, it's like you could understand where it was coming from. But either way, man, I like the way this is all unfolded, bro. I think it's only been a positive for their podcast.
Yeah. Their
podcast, Bobby Lee and him. And so it's been cool. And I guess a plus for Jamari because he's made 2 banging videos that I've seen the views on that shit. I'm like, damn, bro. Because now people, that's the bad part. Well, it is kind of good, though, in a sense. If you're in people's heads, and then they're going to watch the next thing you do. We don't watch Stephen A. Smith to agree with him. We watch him to see what he has to say, you know?
Yeah.
So it helps in that aspect. And then, but that's the thing. All these people seeing Jamari's video, they see they're like, fucking wannabe ass comedian. This guy's a fucking joke.
That's the crazy thing about like certain videos. Like I know like for documentaries is one, Jamari videos.